Episode 5, Thunder Whispers and the Spiritual Bootcamp. Good morning and hello, friends. My name is Shashue Monrauch. On this episode, I will be speaking to Christians about the voice of God, the danger of waiting for the thunder, and what happens when the tired cliches of our faith are forged into reality. Who am I? I'm just some guy who writes a couple of newsletters online, mostly for believers, about the things I see taking shape in this world and in the faith. I am not an academic, I am not a theologian. The things I speak to and write about concerning the faith are my personal experiences, based on conversations I've had with the Father in heaven, and the bruising, beautiful process of learning to walk out His will. My spirit is burdened today, but it's a burden of instruction. I see too many of my brothers and sisters paralyzed, waiting for a booming voice from the sky to tell them what to do next. Before I get into the meat of this, let me clarify who I am speaking to. When I say Christian, I do not mean someone who simply owns a Bible, checks the demographic box, or warms a pew on Sunday. I am speaking to the brother, the sister who genuinely loves Jesus. You read His Word daily, you pray to Him throughout your day. When He commands you to do something, you obey. You have a covenantal relationship with the Lord, and you serve at His command. And if that describes you, then this message is for you. You are family. Listen to me, brothers and sisters. For a long time, I had a very specific and entirely wrong expectation of how God speaks. If you read the Old Testament without understanding the progression of the covenants, it is easy to get this mixed up. You read Exodus 19, where God descends on Mount Sinai in fire, the smoke billowing like a kiln, the whole mountain trembling, and God answering Moses in actual physical thunder. You read Psalm 29, where the voice of the Lord breaks the cedars of Lebanon and flashes forth flames of fire. You read Revelation, where flashes of lightning and peals of thunder roll out from the throne. I read those passages, and my flesh built an expectation. I used to think if God had something to say to me, the deep voice of Morgan Freeman was going to come through my earpiece while I listened to a podcast, or a stereotypical glowing image of Jesus would pop up on my screen to give me my marching orders. I was waiting for the spectacle. And because I was waiting for the spectacle, I was deaf to the Spirit. Let me tell you how God actually revealed Himself to me on that night in October over a year ago. It wasn't Exodus 19, it was 1 Kings 19. Remember Elijah on the mountain? The Lord passed by. A great and strong wind tore the mountains, but the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind, an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake, a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, the sound of a low whisper. That is how He came to me. I was exhausted. I hadn't slept or eaten in days. I was completely spent, stripped of all my armor and all my pretenses. I was kneeling in prostration. There was no thunder in that room. Just the quiet, devastating reality of the hard crust that encased my heart crumbling into dust. In that low whisper, I knew God was real. I saw the idols in my life that grieved Him. I understood I was not alone. God speaks in the low whisper. But fam, pay attention here. If we ignore the whisper, if we continue to rebel, He doesn't just raise His voice, He flips the table. Matthew 21 says Jesus entered the temple and drove out all who sold and bought, and He overturned the tables of the money changers. God did not create you, this temple of the Holy Spirit, to be a marketplace for your own earthly hustle. If you are idolizing your business, your profits, your status, He will speak to you by flipping your table over. Who I am today and the path I am on now is the direct result of God flipping my table. It is uncomfortable, it is inconvenient, it is unfamiliar, but I have learned a personal hack in this walk. If a situation feels uncomfortable, inconvenient, or violently unfamiliar to your flesh, it is probably God trying to show you something. That is how He gets down. He does usual things in unusual ways. For the past 12 months since that table flipping night, I have been enrolled in what I can only call a spiritual boot camp. It has been a high-density, deep-focus, fast-tracked curriculum authored by the Holy Spirit. And the primary textbook for this boot camp has been the absolute destruction of Christian clichés. You know the clichés, we print them on coffee mugs, we cross-stitch them onto pillows, we post them on social media with a sunset background. They have become so common, they have lost their teeth. But in the crucible of obedience, God takes those dusty clichés and reforges them into steel combat manuals. Let's run the ledger on these. Let me tell you what they actually mean when you are standing your watch. Cliché number 1, let go and let God. When you hear this in the culture, it sounds passive. It sounds like quitting. It sounds like sitting on the couch and waiting for a miracle. In reality, let go and let God is the brutal, active abdication of the throne of your own life. It is surrendering control. Control is an illusion that breeds anxiety, panic, and terrible decision-making. When you actually let go, when you learn the sound of His voice and obey it, you tap into what we call the living peace. Listen to me. The living peace is not the peace you find on a sunny beach in St. Martin with a margarita in your hand. That is a vacation. Living peace is the ability to stand perfectly still, with a steady pulse, in the dead center of a Category 5 tornado, while cars and rooftops are being flung around you like leaves in the wind. Philippians 4 says, it is a peace that surpasses all understanding. It makes no logical sense, but it holds the line. Cliché number 2, God works in mysterious ways. Yes, He does. But I would add to this, God works in ironic and humorous ways. God is the ultimate creator. He is an artist. He is not glorified by just doing usual things in usual ways. He is glorified by doing impossible things in ways that completely baffle the world's algorithm. The world looks at a saved life and calls it an odd coincidence or an outlier. We look at the ledger and recognize the signature of the King. Isaiah 55 reminds us, as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways. Stop trying to predict Him. Just be ready to follow Him. Cliché number 3, God never gives you more than you can handle. People say this to comfort grieving people, and it often rings hollow. Why? Because they forget the second half of the equation. It isn't that God won't give you more than your flesh can handle. He absolutely will crush your flesh. God is omniscient. He is never caught off guard. He plants us in the furnace for 2 reasons: to burn away our false identities and to course correct our will into alignment with His. He will never give you more than you can handle, provided you keep Him at the center of your focus. If you rely on your own strength, you will break. If you rely on the foundation of the rock, the winds will blow, the floods will come, but the house will stand. Cliché. Number 4, everything happens for a reason. Again, the world uses this as a generic band-aid for bad luck. But for the blood-bought believer, God is not an extra in the narrative of your life. He is the author. He is the Alpha and the Omega. Romans 8:28 is an ironclad contract. All things work together for good, for those who are called according to His purpose. Not according to your business plan, not according to your 5-year goals, according to His purpose. When you accept that you are a character in His story, rather than the author of your own, the panic dies. Cliché number 5, God is in control. This is the ultimate test of stewardship. If God is in control, what are you doing? Are you fighting Him for the steering wheel? True control is found in perfect submission. If we are truly allowing the Holy Spirit to act, speak, and move through us, we become the glove to His hand. We become the lips to His words. We become the infrastructure of His trust. God is in control the moment you willingly hand over the keys and say, "Govern me from within." Cliché number 6, pray without ceasing. People read this and think they need to walk around murmuring religious phrases 24 hours a day. No. Pray without ceasing is a communications protocol. It is maintaining an open channel with headquarters. Imagine you have a volume dial in your mind. On the left is the noise of the flesh, the enemy, the algorithm. On the right is the low whisper of the Holy Spirit. Praying without ceasing is the daily, hourly, minute-by-minute discipline of turning the left dial down and the right dial up. It is hitting pause before you respond to an email. It is a midday course correction. It is a nightfall debrief. The more you follow the whisper on the right, the more the noise on the left fades into static. Cliché number 7, God is love. This is the big one. Our culture has bastardized the word love. We think it means tolerance, warm feelings, or a romantic comedy script. Fam, the love of God is terrifyingly pure. It is unconditional, covenantal loyalty. It is a Father who loves you too much to let you stay comfortable in your sin. It is a love that will flip your tables, strip your armor, and break your pride just to save your soul. 1 John 3 says, "See what kind of love the Father has given to us, that we should be called children of God." When you get a glimpse of this love, it rewrites your DNA. You will realize you have never actually experienced true love in the flesh until you experience the consuming fire of the Father's affection. This past year, this bootcamp has bent my perception of time. God has the power to enable a lifetime's worth of understanding in a single, flashing second. 2 Peter 3:8 tells us that with the Lord, one day is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day. He can fast-track your sanctification, or he can let you wander the desert for 40 years until you are ready to listen. The choice is entirely yours. Stop waiting for the thunder. Stop waiting for the Morgan Freeman voice to validate your choices. Listen for the whisper. Pay attention to the disruptions. If your table is getting flipped right now, do not complain about the mess. Thank the Lord that He loves you enough to ruin your plans. Take those tired cliches off your coffee mug and put them into your mental RAM. Let go and let God govern. Pray without ceasing. Stand your watch. The anvil is not in the cellar, it is in the open heat of obedience. Step into the boot camp. That is all for now, and thank you for listening. Please share this with those who need to hear it. You can find my writing at shashuemonrauch.com. I am at Shashue Monrauch on social media. Links are below. Pray for me as I pray for you. Peace and blessings, fam. I'm out.